Hello, and welcome back to another Atomic Cast. We're on to episode 9 of the Atomic Cast, and I'm joined here with the London contingent of Atomic Cast. We've got Curtis and we have Zahir. Say hello, boys.
Hey.
Hi, guys.
If you've been to any of our recent tournaments or you popped over to Worcester War Games, you might have seen some of his work. Lots of lovely terrain that he's been helping make for us. So if you want to check more about out, head over to Zahir Cares Designs on Instagram. We'll pop a link in the thing. Just because we like it. Word. Cool. Today we've got a kind of funky episode. So we're looking ahead to the tournament next week that Curtis is hosting.
This week.
This week that Curtis is hosting. It's at the weekend, like that's next week, you know. Get out. Gosh. This is why Curtis is hosting, not Zahir. So
if I was hosting, I'd get it right.
Cool. So we're looking forward to a event that Curtis is hosting at the weekend. It's called, I can't believe it's not Borough, and he's going to explain to you why that's called that. But what we're going to do is going to have a look through all of the army lists and some, well, not all of them, obviously, just the cool ones, and sort of stats and things on like what the average list composition looks like. Because we had a lot of people give us some interesting feedback on our last one of them, so we thought we'd do it again.
Brilliant.
Curtis.
Super. Yeah, well, thanks, Tom. Thanks for having us. And yeah, it's a great opportunity to sort of talk about an event that we've got coming up in London. It's called, like you say, I can't believe it's not Borough. And this is all from there's an annual tournament in London hosted by a big member of our club, Sam Palmer, called the Battle of Borough. It's hosted in Borough, as you'd know by the name. And this year, when he put tickets up for sale, I think the 24 tickets he put up for sale sold out in about 3 or 4 minutes. And the reserves list he had was absolutely mental. So he was really keen for us to try to sort of make the most of this interest in a London tournament. And London is a great location. It's super central. It's so easy to get to on the train. And if you can find a venue, which is not easy in London, that's near a tube station, it's quite easy to get to. It's quite easy to bring your toy soldiers to. So what we thought we'd do, we found the location. It's our local gaming club in Covent Garden, and we thought we'd do sort of a pre-tournament. His tournament's on the Sunday and our tournament's on the Saturday, and it's called I Can't Believe It's Not Borough. So I prepared this little presentation for everyone, so hopefully you'll enjoy.
Can I just ask Curtis just quickly?
Sure.
Who's the current reigning champion of Borough?
Oh God, I'm not sure. It was some minnow. Some. The name escapes me. Who won the last Borough? I think he's back again.
Someone who doesn't bring it up every 5 minutes.
Wasn't it his first GBHL tournament?
Oh no, it wasn't actually, because he lied to us.
Oh, it wasn't. Yeah, he had that rogue tournament that
Absolutely.
Not much. Hey, go on, Tom. Who did win it?
It was me.
You're back in London, aren't you, to reclaim your title? And
I am. Yeah, I'm coming back.
Thankfully, you've got a chance to win 2 titles in the same weekend in London.
I'm coming back to Easy Street in London.
Tom's
wearing his sassy pants tonight.
You got a bit of street cred in London as well, haven't you? I mean, not just a big member of the LWG, the London Wargaming Guild. We had our LWG MESBG championship, didn't we, in December? And where did you place?
Sorry, you're talking second.
Yeah,
yeah, I thought you said Tom then. Sorry.
Yeah, you finished second. So yeah, so both of you have got titles that you're defending that you need to do well at. Otherwise, people will start to wonder if it was all just an accident.
Oh, it was. It was.
It really was. Yeah. If you look at the rest of the year, so only because I see the game. My game 3 or 4 was particularly easy.
It must have been game 3 because you played me in game 4. So
that's what it was, game 4 then, yeah.
So this one, what we're doing, it's I wanted to try and get 4 games in, so it's quite low points. We're doing 400-point tournament. So like I say, it's in Covent Garden with 80 GBHL points, juicy GBHL points up for grabs. And I wanted to, given that it was all sort of relatively last minute, pulling it all together, I wanted sort of as much of it prepared in advance so people people had all the information. They knew what they were planning for, knew what they were prepping for. And I really, really, really like this idea of doing good versus evil, where you felt like you were part of a team. So if you had a good army, you were on like the good team, and you were like, willing your teammates on. And if you were evil, you were sort of willing your mates on. And although it was still competitive individually, there'd be reason to cheer on other people on other tables. So it's a good versus evil event, unlike others. So participants will only be bringing one army, either good or evil.
Well, good.
24 players.
Go evil.
As you might have worked out, Tom is coming down and he's on the good side, and Zahir's coming down and he's on the evil side.
You're right. I am on the good side. Yeah, the good team.
Good guys. Yeah, absolutely.
Tom, I don't think you have a good side.
I do.
Pure evil, mate. Pure evil.
So 12 good players and 12 evil players. And the 4 games, it's preset scenarios, so everyone knows what they're prepping for. Everyone knows what they're building their 400-point armies to do. And what I wanted it to do is sort of follow a little narrative of this good versus evil struggle. So it starts with capture and control. This whole idea that good and evil is clashing all over Middle Earth, and like most battles, you want to try and capture those key strategic places, so you give you an advantage for the rest of the battle. Once those key strategic places have been held or battered away from, the main ones need to be defended. So we move on into hold ground for our second scenario. Obviously, a maelstrom scenario, it builds this idea that you're following on from your first battle. Warbands are scattered, and then they're coming on to try and reinforce the center ground. Then, as the battle goes on, there's maybe some piece of intelligence or some sort of item that can spur the armies on to victory that's behind enemy lines. So we move into retrieval. And then lastly, our last scenario that decides the fate of Middle Earth is the Lords of Battle. And it's on the 19th of February, this Saturday. So yeah.
I love that. It's story time with Curtis.
Yeah.
I love that. It was story time with Curtis.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed writing the tournament pack
nice.
And thinking about that sort of narrative that people might be doing. But guys, 400 points, 4 games. What do you think about those scenarios? Do you think they'll work at the low points levels?
I love it because the way you've structured it is like you've got 3 scenarios. The first 3 scenarios are really like, okay, you need numbers, you need to be like, swarming the battlefield. You want as much as possible, and then round 4's just gone. Now you're going to suffer. So you really have to sort of play with that sort of balance between, like, you wouldn't take Goblin Town because you're going to just die round 4. But,
yeah,
they would play really well for the first 3 rounds. So it was a good thing to think about.
Tom, you want to come in there? You're not sure? You think Goblin Town might do well?
I back it, yeah. So you look at some of the lists, right, that have come in. We'll get to it later, but there are some lists for on Lords of Battle. If I had my Goblin Town, I'd actually back them. Just because everyone's looked like we've seen the stats already posted on Facebook. So everyone's gone kind of high numbers by the looks of it. So the disadvantage for being Goblin Town isn't as strong. And then you've got the Goblin King. And at your 400 points, not an awful lot out there that's really going to deal with him effectively.
Yeah.
So if I was playing as Goblin Town on some of these scenarios on Lords of Battle, I feel like my main tactic would be to just get up there with the king and some mercenaries with a higher defense and kind of do some envelopment, let the king just do his thing for a bit.
Yeah, it takes a lot of resources to get through Bloodberry Mass as well.
Yeah.
You see, if I was playing against him, I'd
Sorry?
just ignore him. That's if I was playing against him, I'd just ignore him.
That's what I mean. I wouldn't give you the option.
Take out the rest, because once you've taken out more goblins than you've got models on the board,
yeah,
then you've won. But I mean, unless they table you.
Yeah.
But that's the only weakness I could see, because I was considering taking Goblin Town for a bit.
I was one kill from beating Rivendell on Lords of Battle with Goblin Town. So
Wow,
it's definitely
Huge.
doable.
doable.
Um,
But I see what you mean, though. The first three scenarios that we've got here, they're sort of the first two numbers really benefit capture
Yeah.
control, obviously. But capture and control, probably start there. You don't need numbers, do you? Because you don't need to sit on the objectives. All you got to do is ping them.
Yeah, so it actually capture and control and retrieval both heavily favor moving rather than necessarily the high model count, I think.
Yeah.
And that kind of evasiveness. And then all you've got to do is get a last. We were just talking about that actually, where there's 5 objectives. So you can tag 2, your opponent can't take all 5. So you can just keep moving around and taking 2 and taking 2. Puts a small group onto 1. You can just come back and clear it off pretty easily. It's like an all-mounted Rohan list. Could have a lot of fun. And then you've got those 2, and all you've got to do is wait until the final turn and just slam in and take that last one off him.
Yeah.
And unless they position it properly, you'll get it, which is quite nice. But yes, numbers and speed for these, I think.
And do you think it's easy to write a list that will do well at all 4 of these scenarios?
No. It requires a lot of brain power and tenacity.
Tenacity.
I will say,
tenacity on the call.
As someone who's written a list for these points, what I kind of went is, I'll go for 3 of them. deal with the 4th one when it comes to it. So I'll let you work out which 3 I've decided I'm going to win, and which one I've gone. Yeah, I'll deal with that when it comes to it.
I think what's interesting is that actually that might be a good way to go, and maybe Lords of Battle is the one that you don't think too hard about, because if you've won your first 3, you'll probably be playing someone in the final round who's also won all 3, and maybe that disadvantage of having loads of models in Lords of Battle or like fast models might be mirrored by your opponent in that last round.
That's a little bit about what I meant. Yeah, I think I worded it poorly, but yes, that's what I was trying to say. You're quite likely to also see a high model count, so it's not the end of the world. And if they've got a high model count, they're not really going to be able to deal with a Goblin King. Say they've got like Hunter, well, you won't play Hunter Rolls because that's evil. But say they've got like an Army of Lake Town horde without like any big striking type hero. You put the Goblin King into it and you're just going to beat them all up, really. There's not much they can do about it. Even Gollum will have a great time on his own.
Where was this talk a few weeks ago when I could have just written that army list straight away?
So they're the scenarios. Hopefully I've found a nice balance there in choosing them, and hopefully it posed a challenge. I mean, you guys both know hopefully it posed a bit of a challenge in coming up with that army list, and maybe
I enjoyed it though. It was really good fun to try and write it.
And not many tournaments that you go to have that preset list. You might have like preset pools, but how different was it knowing exactly what scenarios you're playing compared to what we normally see in the GBHL, where scenarios get rolled for?
Tom, do you want to go
first? Sure. Yeah. I have mixed feelings on it. Part of me, there's always that little bit when you go to an event where it's quite like you kind of don't know what you're going to get. It could be quite like, it adds a little bit of mystery to the whole thing and a bit of a like, oh, I've got this, that's cool. Whereas I didn't like the fact, some people might enjoy it, but I didn't like the fact that I was sat there going, right, I know what 4 scenarios that is. How could I try and come up with a list to do all 4 of these scenarios? I didn't enjoy that because it made me think too hard, and I don't like that. Like, if I take a list without knowing the scenarios and a bad scenario for me comes up, I'm just going to go, it happens, doesn't it? Whereas now I kind of go, well, I knew that was coming and I didn't prepare for it, and that's my fault. And I haven't prepared for them because like I've been busy doing other things. So I haven't like sat there and studied this, but someone could have. There's going to be someone out there who has sat down for weeks and gone, right, so I've got these missions and what I want to do is I need to make sure I have this list that does this thing, and and so it kind of rewards that a little bit, which for me personally I'm a bit like but some people really enjoy it, so there's that.
What about you, Zahir?
Personally, I loved it. I just loved the fact that it was like, first of all, I knew we weren't playing Recon, which is like my least favorite scenario ever.
You've played it loads, haven't you?
I've just played it every tournament I've been at this year, last year. So I was like, I'm just done with that. Whether I won it or lost it, I just hated it. And I was just like looking forward to playing some interesting scenarios. It favoured a lot of certain armies, but then it just can change very quickly. And, you know, it means you can just ignore things like banners and stuff. You can just go, okay, well, I'm going to take extra models.
That
have
is
a bit of
interesting,
fun.
isn't it? There's no banner VPs in any of these scenarios. That wasn't intentional.
Tom, the Curtis was supposed to say it was.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, that was totally intentional because at
Totally
40
was.
points, you know, who needs a banner?
Yeah, because I mean, the thing is, you know, like at, say, for example, like Into the West and stuff where it's 450 and the secret missions, like, you know, require having a banner and stuff, it's good to know you don't need one. So you can just go, okay, I'm just going to spam my extra X, Y, and Z because I can just take 25 points worth more of models, you know, which can be 4 or 5 models in some cases.
No one likes banners anyway. This isn't Australia.
This is Australia, yeah. I think what it does. This is. I mean, my view. I could totally be wrong, but by taking banners out of the VP equation, it makes you think. Right, what benefit does a banner give me on the battlefields in the game?
Yeah.
More so than actually how can it score me points? You know, at higher points, I would never ever write a list that doesn't have a banner purely because the benefit it gives me in VPs.
Yeah.
Because a 3-inch bubble at high points isn't anything, but if you've got the points to spend on it, spend it because you could be losing 2 VPs there. But here, when it's quite a hard decision because you don't have loads of points, taking it out the equation, you decide what army you want, and then you go, will my army benefit from a banner? And in some armies it will, some armies it won't. But I think it encourages you to think about just the benefit on in the game rather than sort of, you know, for the scoring.
Absolutely.
Great. So we've got the scenarios, and part of that narrative, what I wanted, and because I wanted that sort of good versus evil, if good win the scenario, they will get a benefit, and if evil win the scenario, they will win a benefit. And how we're doing it, so like most London tournaments, the way VPs and the way tournament points are being scored in this is based on VP differential. So if you draw, so there's a 0 VP differential, you both get 10 points. And if you win by 10 or more VPs, you get 20, your opponent gets 0. And then any increment in between 10 and 0 VP difference, it's like a score. So if Tom, you were to play Zahir and you won 7-3, so you've got a 4 VP difference, you would get 14 tournament points, and Zahir, you would get 6 tournament points. So the total is always 20, and how it's shared between you depends on that VP difference.
I have an interesting or like a point on this. I'd also like to make, carrying on from our previous conversation. So we were just talking about banners and VPs and things. And one of the things that always irks me is when you win 10-0, but you don't have a banner, so you don't get those extra 2 points.
Yeah.
But those 2 points are irrelevant in your scoring system.
What? But yeah, because there's no difference between winning 10-0 or 12-0.
Yeah.
So it sort of maxes out there.
It
it's
could
more
go
for elegance
against
for the scoring system, but yeah, it does. Like a 10-0 win is essentially a 12-0 win, really, isn't it? It's a major victory.
I mean, and what I like about that is that it doesn't. There's a little bit of it encourages you to play for every VP, but it also, once you get to kind of 10-0, it's not encouraging you to go, God, finish them. You know, like you can kind of just like
ruin their day.
Yeah, you don't have to
quite if they want to play the game anymore.
Yeah. And what we really like about it in sort of the London scene is that even if you think you're going to lose, there's still something to play for, because a narrow loss, say you lose by 1 VP, 2 VPs, is as good as a draw. Like in some certain, like, and losing narrowly is also as good as a draw. So, sorry, winning narrowly is as good as a draw. So if you know, certainly in this good versus evil, and you know, if you want to give your team a benefit, you really do have something to fight for, even if you feel like you're going to lose overall.
One big win followed by a narrow loss is just as good as two small wins. Could even be better. Depending on how big that one win is.
You could get 3 big wins and a loss, and someone who gets 4 narrow wins, and you will beat them in this tournament.
Or 3 massive wins and a draw and win last year's.
Yeah, definitely. So yes, that's how we're doing sort of the individual scores. However, for the good versus evil tot up, that is a pure sum of VPs. So good will win the scenario if the sum of all the good players' VPs is higher than the sum of all the evil players' VPs. So again, players, even if you think you're going to lose, you have something to play for, because of course, yeah, if your best players on the good side or on the evil side are winning 12, 10-0, you've still got something to offer by not losing 10 or 12-0 yourself, because you're more likely to then be the difference between your side getting the bonus in the next round and not. So that's what we're hopefully trying to achieve. And I'll run you through the bonuses we've got, and you can tell me if you
haven't
think
actually looked at these. I saw that you were doing it. No, I saw you were doing it, and then went, cool, that's something I'm not going to think too much about, because otherwise I'm going to start trying really hard to think about it.
Don't worry too much about it. It's not game breaking, but it might just sort of psychologically give you a feel good, or just sort of give you that early advantage. So that's all we're trying to do. And it's good and evil aren't just getting the same thing. I've tried to make them a bit closer. So if the good side wins capture and control in hold ground for a single maelstrom roll, you can add or take away 1 to your roll, and that's in addition to any sort of bonuses you have. So you bring Gurits along or Madril, and you roll a 2, you can turn that into a 4 without spending any might. Or a normal hero, you roll a 1, you could spend 2 points of might and then this roll to get it to a 4, or turn a 2 into a 1 with just this roll. However, if the evil side wins, instead of adding or plussing to their own score, they can add or plus to their opponent's score. So if you're the evil side and you see Borough roll a 2 and he uses a point of might to turn it to a 1, well, you can say, I'm going to add 1 back to it, so it comes back to a 2.
That would be my you need to FAQ that.
I was going to say, you need to make sure you say whether we're going to do that before or after Mike's declared.
Okay.
Please. Just for
no, you're absolutely right. Reason. I'd not thought about how the interactions with decision
makers. Because the second you said that, I went, cool. So if I knock it down to a 1, they can just might it back up to a 2 and get him on if they want to, or vice versa. And then I was like, you said it that way round, and I was like, even better. They can spend 3 points of might to go up, and I can go, back down again.
That's what I was going to say, because you could hypothetically make a 1 or 2, and then they have to spend a point of might to might it back down to a 1, or because I think a maelstrom roll of a 2 is the worst roll you can get.
Oh god, yeah, absolutely. People will spend a point of might to go down to 1. So
I do it all the time.
It might be in the tournament pack. I think I might have thought about this. I think might comes last, so it's this. You can decide to do this before might is applied.
Yeah,
and
I think
then
that's just
decide whether to use
say
might.
that at the beginning of the round, and we're golden.
Yeah. Obviously, it doesn't affect the good as much because you've got your own agency. So, but yeah, for the evil, it does matter, because you essentially the evil side is probably trying to get might out of them with this roll, right?
And we'll be leading round 1, so we want that clarification straight away.
Absolutely. So yeah, and then with those bonuses in hand, if the good side or evil sides, this one's exactly the same for both teams, if they win hold ground, then they will, for the next scenario, retrieval, they'll be able to move D6 models before the first priority roll. And the ruling on this is you deploy, you then roll your D6 and move those models. Those models can't move out of your deployment zone. So it's not like the WARG bonus.
Yes, it's like a redeploy.
It's almost like a redeploy, but as if it was their move. So you essentially, you can either move them back, their move, or move them to the side. You just can't move them forward beyond your deployment zone.
Cool.
So that's your bonus. So it's like, you could do a little feint. You could put 3 or 4 models looking like they're going to go for down one side, and then they defend against it, and then you roll your D6, you pull a load of them back, or even send them further wide. So that's the kind of thing I was going for.
I like that. It's not too game breaking, but it's
That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
What I don't want to see is what I didn't want to say is like, oh, D6, and you just throw a load of Riders of Rohan into your opponent's half, and they're like,
Or
already
D6
in.
bats just go across the lines and game over.
Exactly. But it does give you sort of a slight edge. And then in retrieval, if the good side wins retrieval, they can re-roll a single priority roll during the Lords of Battle scenario. And if you're the evil side and you win retrieval, you can make your opponent re-roll a single priority in the Lords of Battle. What do you guys think? Do you think any of these are game breaking?
Not game breaking. I just love the fact that all of the evil ones make us more evil. Like, they make us do things to your opponent that are just horrible. I love it.
Yeah,
it's really funny because I haven't played good for a while, so I've kind of been sat there going, yes, evil, excellent, cool. I can make my opponents do stuff. And I was like, oh wait, no, hang on.
You're on the wrong side.
So Zahir, you might as well not bother reading these. To be fair.
Just remember, It's not just you; it's your whole team.
What are you saying to my London brethren? Look, me and cricket are going to mess you up, all right?
So this is exactly what I want. I want the good side to be sort of helping each other out. Normally in sort of competitive tournaments that people don't like sort of giving advice. If a game's finished and you go watch another game, I remember you saying in one of your previous podcasts that like don't say anything to them. In this, I think that still applies. Don't sort of ruin the game by telling someone what to do. But what I do want to see is sort of words of encouragement to the person on your side.
Are we not supposed to do that? I do that all the time.
No, it's really. So you're saying once I've 12-0'd Archie, I can pop down to my mate other Tom, and help coach him out a little bit with his Shire army.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Maybe not coach too much. I mean, so here once you've 12-0'd your opponent, you can go up.
I love that.
It gets a laugh when Zahir says it. When I did it, everyone went, "Yeah, cool, standard, every day."
But yeah, I want the 12 players on the good side to feel like a team, and the 12 players on the evil side to feel like a team. I want to see them see words of encouragement. I want to see jeering. I want to see trash talk.
I've got to remember to bring the halftime oranges for my team.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking to you two as leaders. Tom, you for the good side, and Zahir, you for the evil side. So
are we getting matching t-shirts?
Matching t-shirts of opposite colours.
Oh no! If I'd thought about that. Like
on Saturdays we wear pink.
So yeah, they're the scenarios. So Tom, I suppose we can go into talking about your teammates.
Fantastic! Hang on,
the armies of good.
Let me put my model down for the army. But I'm definitely not painting my army right now. Honest, I promise.
Yeah,
no, neither of us are. Totally not.
On your screen now is a summary of the armies that will be taking the field for the good side.
Yes.
We've got 2 Lake Town armies. We've got an army of Thrall, Fangorn, Helm's Guard, Legendary Legion. We've got an Iron Hills, Minas Tirith. That Minas Tirith is allied with Rohan as well. Or is it the Rohan that's allied? No, it's the Rohan that's allied with Minas Tirith. Minas Tirith is all Minas Tirith. We've got 2 Rivendell forces, and then a Shire and a Dead of Dunharrow. The average model count for the good side is 22 models, with the highest, and this is the highest for the whole tournament, is a 42 model Army of Lake Town side.
Yeah, stick that in your pipes here.
And the lowest,
don't worry, I'll be smoking that army.
the lowest model count, which is also the lowest model count for the event.
Yeah, stick that in your pipes here.
All the extremes. Good have a average bow count of 5. They have the highest bow count again of the whole tournament. No surprise. It is that Army of Lake Town. But they also, the lowest bow count is shared by a number of armies, but there are a few, more than just one on the good side that have no bows. Obviously, Fangorn is one of those. Dead
Army of Thrall and the
Deads. Yep, Army of Thrall. But some of those armies have things like throwing weapons. So where the good side, I think, lack bows, like I don't think Helm's Guard has got lots of bows, but it's got lots of throwing spears. Obviously, the army of Thor has loads of throwing axes with its grim hammers. I'm trying to think of others that might have throwing weapons.
Rohan.
The
Shire.
Rohan. Yeah, well, Shire's got bows and stones, so there's still plenty of range threat in these good armies. And then on the might count, 5 might is the average, 7 might is the highest. And that's the Army of Lake Town. That's also the highest model count.
Let's be honest. If you put a 7 next to Army of Lake Town, it's not actually got 7 might, has it? It's got at least 10.
Yeah, no.
But 10.
You're absolutely right.
Not if you shoot Alfred turn 1.
Yes, because Alfred will do it during priority on the first turn. Bam, 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 done.
Can Alfred spend, or is it his will that he spends to turn
into? Yeah,
you
can do it all in one turn. You can just go bam, 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 done.
Spaff it all, and then and does it all have to go to the same hero if you do it all in one turn?
Don't know.
That means Tom's played it one way. It's probably wrong. He's been cheating.
Tom actually normally plays it. I just do 1 per turn because I like to see where it goes.
Yeah, you nominate a single hero, and you can expend as many will points as you want. For each roll of a 2+, the nominated hero gains a point of might. On a 1,
I like to give 1 to Bard and 1 to the Master, and then work out who else wants it. For instance.
Yeah. This is the spawny rule where it doesn't obviously can't go to negative might. So if you had one of the daughters that doesn't have any mites, or you did it at a point where you don't have any might on your hero and you roll a 1, they can't obviously go lower, and Alfred gains might. It's a pretty good rule, that. Pretty good rule. And even the lowest model counts, the lowest might count, the Dead of Dunharrow, I think that list has got a herald in it. So it doesn't really have 1 point of might, does it? It's got the king's
might.
Point of might, plus the will that can be used as the king's might.
For heroics, is it heroic moves or?
It's heroic actions, isn't it?
Is it all heroic actions?
I think so. So strikes, moves, combats, I think.
So what do you think to those numbers? Is this what you would expect from the Armies of Good at 400 points?
So if you didn't tell me what the armies were and you showed me those numbers, I'd be surprised that the model count went so high for Good. If you think about Armies of Good, they are often, in my head, I immediately jump to a slightly more elite army than 42 at 400, because that's less than 10 points of model at these points, which is, a lot.
Including heroes.
Yeah, exactly. We often talk about your average is kind of like, if you take the number and divide it by 20, you get to what I think should be kind of your average model count, really. So you got 400, you divide it by 20, you get to 20, got 22 as our average. So everyone's kind of hoarding out a little bit.
Yeah.
That could be a symptom of the scenarios you posted, especially when you consider that we've got 3 from Fangorn, which is dragging that right down.
That's dragging the average down. There's going to be probably more that are above that 22 mark.
So what I'm expecting to see here from pretty much all of these armies, other than potentially Rohan, is just a large amount of infantry with throwing weapons and range threat. I think we might end up, it might almost deteriorate into a little bit of 40k. If I look at this, I'm looking at Lake Town and going, right, both those Lake Town lists are going to have at least 10 bows. You've got the Shire, which is probably going to be packing 10 bows, right? You've got Rohan and Rivendell, which could both easily be packing 5 to 10 bows, depending on how they built it. Helmsguard's going to have 1 million throwing weapons. The Shire's going to have 1 million throwing weapons. Army of Thrall's going to have a fair chunk of throwing weapons. This could get shooty very quickly.
Rangers in the Ministerial, potentially.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many they're going to have. I probably wouldn't have that many, I think. Personally, but we'll see when we get to it. If we get to it. But if I was to pick some out that I think are particularly spicy from my point of view, and then we can ask Zahir what he's terrified of, because I know he is. I do think Army of Lake Town are really strong at these points, just because of how many models you can pack in. And as we see, he's got a highest model count of 42, so that's quite nice. Yeah, he's properly hoarded out on them. I use Goblin Town a lot, and we get to around there somewhere, 40, 50 at these points. So that's a depressive model count. I expect the Shire's also got a really, really high model count, so that could be particularly spicy. Helm at 400, I really like. Yeah, Helm at low points, because what you get is you get Helm with all the buffs as a little wrecking ball, and there isn't much that can stop super buffed up Helm at low points.
Yeah.
And then what you get is this little wall, potentially of Royal Guard at the front. But so you're talking about fight 4, fight 5 models, lots of throwing spears. No one wants to come close to that. And if they do come too close to it, they're going to get pelted with throwing spears, and then Helm's going to charge into back of them and mess them all up. So I really like that list at 400. And the Dead's just a nice, easy, I'm playing evil. Cool. Dead of Dunharrow. Chuck it in there. See what happens.
I think that's a really interesting one, because I'm not sure on the evil side what can handle that much terror, especially if the king, because the king gets Harbinger of Evil as the army bonus, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the evil armies are going to be Courage 2 pretty much across the board.
Courage 1.
But then down to Courage 1 with the Harbinger.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, because who's bringing a Shaman at 400 points to get the Fury? Who's bringing fearless models at 400 points?
I'm intrigued to see. Did you say he definitely brought a Herald, has he?
Yeah.
Because I don't think I would have.
Would you not? What would you have done? Would you have done the Legendary Legion?
I'd have put as many ghosts in there as possible.
Oh, interesting.
I'd have done the king and just as many ghosts as physically possible in that list.
And let the warriors do the work.
Yeah. Because you're paying. Go on, sorry, mate.
We've mathed it out, and you pay an awful lot of money, points wise, for the Herald to basically give free might to the king, and the king doesn't do an awful lot with that might. Now, what he ends up doing is calling moves and things, but I don't think you want to be calling moves with the ghosts, because as we've just said, you're looking at a Courage 1 army that might not necessarily be charging you. He has March, I believe, the king. So March and Strike. So they're the two useful things. But we haven't got Seize the Prize here, so I'm not looking for a march out. Otherwise, I lose the game. The only one you might be thinking about doing, hold ground maybe, but you'll get there. You know, I'm not scared of shooting. I'm defense 8, right? I don't care about shooting. Shoot me all you want.
Yeah, you will get there.
Even your crossbows are holding me on 6s. Like, we'll get there. So that's personally what I would do instead of the Herald. But that's just me. I think that's a really interesting case. And because if you can max your model count out, your warriors will be doing your work, and then it's a case of just keeping the king alive, really, to protect the leader VPs while your warriors wreck theirs. It's
being good versus evil.
The Eisenguard lists are a mild concern to it, but other than that, if I'm looking at your normal mortal orcs who are going to be down to Courage 1, they're going to be Strength 3, so they're going to be 6s by 4s to wound me, and Courage 1, so I'm going to win them on 3s. I ain't scared.
Yeah.
Like, there's not much the might on my heroes are going to do. I just want more models.
But essentially, even with the Herald though, 400 points, you're a bit worried, aren't you, as an evil player facing that?
Definitely.
So Zahir, what do you think? Looking at this, what scares you the most? What are you looking forward to face? What do you think you could easily take?
Am I allowed to spoil what I'm taking because it's coming up later in the video?
Yeah, absolutely.
So as I'm taking Azog's Hunters and some Azog's Legion in there as well, it's just going to be wrecking me. I'm going to be down to Courage 1. I mean, to be honest with you, it's not much different because I'm dying very quickly because it's a bit of a glass cannon, my army. But I'm just not hoping. I'm hoping I just miss that completely. But yeah, it looks quite scary. To be honest with you, having a look at most of these, I'm gonna have to play well to beat them because they look like they're gonna be some handy lists coming up. And yeah, I think there's nothing there that's sort of like, oh yeah, that's gonna be easy. I'm just gonna have to focus on the scenarios. I think that's the best I can do.
Yeah. Fair.
Army of Fraud is quite interesting for you as well because you're using Hunter Orcs mostly, aren't
Yeah.
you? You said, yeah. So
Yes.
so your strength 4, so Army of 4 sits really nicely in that D7 window where
You still need
you're not
sixes.
paying over the top for your high defense 8s. So the dead of Harrow, he's going to be able to pay the point and put shields on all of them, and they're all going to be pointless against you.
Yeah.
But your Army of Fraud, D7, so it's still 6 to wound. There's a lot of strength 4, so every your 4s, it's just like, oof, like,
Yeah.
there's a reason my boy, little boy Blue, loves them.
Yeah. Oh, they are a beautiful army, aren't they?
So that's the good armies. So let's go on to your lads here, the evil armies.
I wouldn't even bother wasting your breath with these.
So a little summary you can see on screen now. What you can see is there are lots of Eisenguard, and there's 12 armies here, and 4 of them are Eisenguard or Eisenguard variations, 3 regular Eisenguard, 1 Mercy Scouts. We've got 2 Mordor, and I think one of the Mordors is a alliance as well with Serpent Horde. We've got a Serpent Horde fully, a Moria, an Angmar, and Azog's Hunters, which is allied with Azog's Legion. Wonder who that is. A Blackgate opens Legendary Legion, and Easterlings. What we've got is our average model count is 25, so 3 higher than the good sides. Even though the highest model count for evil is 34, so that's 7 less models than the highest on the good side. But then the lowest model count is 18, which is significantly higher than the 3 models that Bangor has on the good side, and that's with I think a fairly hero heavy and elite heavy Easterling army. Average bow count exactly the same, being 5, and the highest bow count being very similar with Serpent Horde, 13. The lowest bow count, whereas it was like multiple armies on the good side having no bows at all. With the evil, strangely, because they're not amazing shooters, evil, there's only 1 army that doesn't have any bows, and that is Easterlings. And then Mike, 5 is the average. I think that's pretty much the same as good. But our highest might count is on that Azog's Hunters list. And our lowest might count is on the Serpent Horde Mordor Alliance, which I think is Suladan
and a Taskmaster.
And maybe a Taskmaster. Maybe it's a 1 Might Wraith.
Nah, that's Suladan and Taskmaster, that is.
You reckon it's Suladan and Taskmaster? Maybe
yeah. I reckon that's Suladan, Taskmaster, Black Lenorians in the front, and as many bows as they can physically get in. And then he's got Orc Trackers, I imagine, to bump up his bow count.
So guys, what do you think? So starting with user here, back you boys. What do you think? What are you pleased to see going with you into battle?
Isengard, because Isengard are a solid, they're a good all-round sort of good troop. They've got good courage, good strength, good defense.
There's a real trend here. What makes Isengard so appealing at 400 points, and for these scenarios?
You've got cheap wrecking ball heroes, and Lurtz is just ridiculous for his points. I think he's a very good 90 points spent. Just your Isengard warriors in their tin armor, going to be doing a lot.
Lurtz has he's a hero of valor, so he can take a lot of lads with him. 3 attacks, 3 wounds, 3 mites, strength 5 with a bow. So and strike, So pretty tasty leader.
With strength 3 bows, strength 4 crossbows, it's all just tick, tick, tick.
Fair. What else stands out to you?
I'm looking forward to seeing a Troll Chieftain on the table at 400 points.
Yeah,
that should be good fun. Like to be honest with you, it's all looking good. To be honest with you, I'm interested to see what's in the Moria list. I want to see if there's any creepy crawlies or anything fun in that. Angmar, always good fun. And I hate Serpent Horde at the moment because I've lost to them loads. But that means I've got an army on the way with that.
But you won't be playing them, will you? So
no, not this time.
You'll be playing with them, so fingers crossed.
Yes, yeah. Just it's all looking good. Eastlings should be good. I'm interested to see how you only got 18 models at 400 with that, because should be getting more models with that. So that's probably very hero heavy, which should be good fun as well. Yeah. So
What about you, Tom? What out of these lists, what are you most nervous to face, and what do you hope you get first round? You know, just to set you off.
To call someone out. Right. So, I want to, first of all, I want to echo Zahir's point about Isengard. I do think it's a very appealing list at these points. My only, if I'm looking at it from the Isengard, sorry, I'll look at it from the, if I'm looking at it from the good point of view first, I'm scared of the fact that what they can get is an awful lot of Fight 4, Strength 4, D6 models. Like that is, if I was to draw up my ideal warrior for SBG, Fight 4, Strength 4, D6 is exactly what I would draw. Especially if you're playing against good armies, like a lot of people, a lot of our good armies can go up to Fight 4 and are very proud of it. And it's a lot of like D6 in there as well. So being Strength 4 helps break the D6 down. So when you look back, we had lots of Minas Tirith who run around with D6. We had 2 Army Lake down who are D4. There was, just lots of stuff that really gets hurt by the Strength 4. My only concern with it is, while you can have a few well-costed heroes in Isengard, if you take 2 of them, their points add up quite quickly.
Yeah.
They're not cheap enough unless you're taking like Malher and Vrasku. If you start taking Lurtz, he's a good leader at 400 points, but he's not cheap. And then you add in another hero, you're starting to look at quite a big point to spend on your heroes. So I think your model card does suffer a little bit from that. That would be my only kind of criticism of Isengard at this point. But feel free to tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Absolutely.
The Scout Legions at 400 points are scary.
Are you surprised to see only one?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. If I was bringing an evil list, I would be looking at Lurtz Scouts.
Yeah.
And I'd be looking at Lurtz's rather than Uglucks. Because I think if I'm looking at Ugluk Scouts at 400 points, I've basically got to have Ugluk and Grishnak. And I get 2 strikers, but it means I only have like a limited number of eyes and like of Uruks I can take and things. Whereas Lurtz Scouts, I can just go, right, I'm going to take Lurtz, I'm going to spam as many lads in there as possible, and Malher. So what's that, like 150 points worth of heroes? And then you've got 250 points worth of Scouts. What are they, like 10 points?
Move 8 Scouts, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're 8.
They 8?
Yeah.
Is that with a shield?
No,
9 points.
Okay, so 9 points each, because if you're taking them without a shield, you're a madman.
Or a bow.
Or a bow, yeah. So they're 9 points each models, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, like 150 points on heroes, 250 points, and 9 points each. So you got 25, 30 models. You bang on, and those models are going to slap when they get to you.
Yeah.
My only hope is some of the elf lists can deal with them for me with their strength 3 shooting.
Yeah, strength 3 shooting / fight 5 to shield and let their heroes do the work.
Which is what I did to them at the weekend, and it was horrible. But it's all right. So that's that's my thoughts on Isengard. And what's going to be really interesting, because if there's two ways they built this list. They've either put their big toys in there, and some of Angmar's big toys are very scary, especially at these points, or they've done like Witch King double white and a whole bunch of orcs. If they've done Witch King double white, the ability to just shut down heroes is going to be insane. And you look at something like a Helm's Guard Legend Legion. If you just go, Helm, come here, compel him over to you, paralyze him, gank him.
You don't even need to gank him, because you can end the game while he's paralyzed, right? And if he gets up from paralysis, using his mighty hero or
but you're gonna have a couple of two-handed axe boys in there who can just run in and start beating them up.
Yeah,
you've always got to have a couple of two-handed lads in an Angmar list just to like beat up paralyzed guys. It's great fun. So that's, and obviously, man, Azix Hunters, God, there's so many.
I'd
It's
say
interesting that he's brought Legion in. Has he put, because obviously, has he put Mercs in? Yeah, Mercs, yeah. Cool.
Tell you what, should we move on to some lists? I've pulled out some interesting lists, and that is one of them. So we'll get onto it.
I'll tell you what, though, you are 1 second though, because you did ask me to call someone out.
And
Zahir said he's really excited to see Blackgate Opens on the table. I'm really excited to see Blackgate's Opens opposite me on the table.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why's that? Fearless Troll with 3 might.
Half your army.
There. 140 points, yeah.
So
Eisenguard is getting Lurtz and Malher for that same points.
yeah, I'm more concerned about Isengard, Malher, and a whole bunch of move 8 things than I am about a troll.
Yeah, that can only move 6. It's got a enormous base.
I can move away from it. I have faith that I can drop a large number of the orcs before they get to me. And then ignore that troll, screen it out. I have faith.
You've got to. That's what you have.
Yeah. So there you go. I've called someone out for you.
Called someone out.
Blackgate Opens. I've called him out. I'll have him. Game 1. I do not want.
I look forward to you
Horde.
drawing him in game 1 or in game 2. You both win game 1 and you face off against the Blackgate.
He won't win game 1.
That's savage.
I don't know who it is, but I hope they're watching.
Tom.
Brilliant. Right. Well, let's move on to. I've pulled out a couple of.
What
highlights.
is game 1?
Sorry.
What is game 1?
Game 1 is capture control. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, they might win game 1.
So yeah, pulled out some highlights lists for us to talk through. Just some interesting ones. Not all of them, but just a little taster of what people are going to be seeing on the tables. I can't believe it's not Borough. And our first one is Tom. Not this Tom, different Tom.
Tom 2.
Tom number 2.
Nah, he's actually Tom 1. You're Tom 2.
Yeah, this is London's Tom. This is the LWG Tom. So, but he's brought himself a whole foot Wraith Girdle with 12 Hobbit Sheriffs, Paladin Tuck with 11 Tuckish Hunters, Hobbit Archers, and 1 Hobbit Archer, also a Tuckish Hunter with Warhorn. Robin Smallborough with 2 Hobbit Militia and 9 Hobbit Sheriffs. And allied in from the Rangers list, he's got Halbrad with the Banner of the Even Star.
Does he need to ally Halbrad in?
I don't think Halbrad's part of the Shire list, is he? There's green allies.
They can take Rangers, can't they?
They can take Rangers, yeah.
Yeah, they can take Dunedain, but they can't take Halbrad.
They can't take Halbrad. Okay.
Sure.
Can't take the named one, no. So, but it's green allies, and Halbrad's a hero of fortitude. So, essentially same list.
Cool, man.
So, guys, what do you think? So, what Holfoot? He's the one that gives the sheriffs the essentially Burley, within 3 inches of him, and he's packing 12 sheriffs. Well, no, 21 sheriffs in total across the army. Paladin Tuck. That's he's bringing his. They fight 3 Tuckish Hunters.
They fight 3, yeah.
They're the ones that got to fight 3, but he's got 12 bows there, and a 12-inch standfast from Paladin Tuck when the hobbits inevitably break to a troll chieftain hurling them around. He's got Robin Smallborough, potentially come in super, super handy on whole ground with those maelstrom rolls. Giving +1 if good win there, capture control as well, +2 to his roll. And then Halbrad giving them that fearless banner as well as just a 6-inch banner, just so these hobbits are getting more dice than they already have. Go on, Tom. What do you think about this list?
So Zahir, I've got a happy thought, and I've got a couple of potential improvements or just food for thought. So first of all, I really enjoy this army. Just like from a hobby point of view, I love this. I love everything about it. I love the fact that we've got what is essentially just a sheriff militia with a bow detachment. It just makes me happy. We're both the sheriff leaders. Like, it's just, love that. Love that.
Absolutely. Really high model count as well. Lots of sheriffs in there to fit that thing.
Are these sheriffs going to be are they fight 3, strength 3 +1 to wound? Or are they fight 3, strength 2 +1 to wound?
You're testing me. I've got them right here.
I think they're strength 2 +1 to wound.
Sheriffs are fight 3, strength 2. And then, yeah, when they're within 3 inches of whole foot, they'll be getting their +1 to wound.
They'll be, they'll be winning both things on 5s.
+1 to wound is essentially like adding 2 to your strength. So
Yeah,
they're hobbits walking around essentially at strength 4.
yeah, little master forged clubs.
Yeah.
What my kind of like things that kind of just mildly trigger me. All right, so have you got the book with you there?
I do have the book. I don't have scouring. I've got the main.
That's the main one's what I'm after here. So Paladin took.
Yeah.
What does he do in? He's got a 12-inch standfast.
He's got a 12-inch standfast. He's fight 2, strength 2, defense 3, 1 attack, 2 wounds, courage 5.
That's right. And that was the 12-inch standfast was the point, I think.
Yep.
Then underneath him, you've got a Tuggish Hunter with a warhorn. And then at the bottom there, you've got Halbrad. What does Halbrad do?
He's a fearless balancer.
6-inch fearless.
Yep.
So you've got his 3 things doing a very similar job.
Yeah.
If Halbrad's alive, that warhorn's fairly redundant. If you get
even
broken,
Paladin's alive because Paladin is courage 5.
Yeah.
With the warhorn, he's become to courage 6, and he's got 1 point of will.
So that's one of the things that I look at and just go, ooh, like, for me personally, I probably wouldn't bother with Halbrad.
Would you not? Or would you drop the warhorn and maybe add a ranger into Halbrad's warband?
Both.
What, either or?
No, both.
No, both. So
I'd probably keep the warhorn. If I dropped Halbrad, I would keep the warhorn. But if you look at them, that's an entire another warband you can get for Halbrad.
Yeah.
And then some. So what you could do
13 models
is slip. I don't know how many points Merry is, but Merry with some battling brandy bucks.
Right, okay. I've got Merry in front of me. What does Merry do? Merry's got the Horn of the Riddermark, which is +1 courage, so you don't need the warhorn.
So there's your warhorn, done. Cool.
And yeah, he can add battling brandy bucks for 1 point per model, and they are strength 3.
So you give Merry and 12 battling brandy bucks with axes.
So they can go to strength 4 as well.
Strike.
Strength 4 as well on your hobbits.
Yeah.
With Merry for the price of you keep your warhorn, but you can drop that warhorn out. So that's what 30 points you've saved there.
Yeah.
Drop Halbrand out, so you've got 140 points to spend on Merry and
Merry's 45. You give him a shield 50.
Put him on a pony if you want to get mental.
Yeah. You wanna. I don't know what the benefit is putting on a pony because it just makes it harder for him to charge anyone. But it does give him a little bit more reach movement wise.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of where I would be at personally. I get Halbrad. He's a fight 5 or fight 6. Fight 5 striker. Which the
with
army
3 points of might as well. 3 points.
Yeah, it does help the army out massively, and so does the banner. But for me, it's kind of you often hear myself and Lee talk about we have option A and we have option B, and then you have option C. And option A is like hoard out the numbers. Option B is like a fairly like elite type army, and option C is there's a bit of both. In this situation, and for me personally, I'll just go more numbers.
More option A, yeah, fair. I totally get what you mean about he's got 3 things in there that are essentially doing the same thing, and he's sort of spending points on that. And maybe there is something more efficient you could do with those points. Maybe Halbrad's in there because this list doesn't have a march, does it?
Does Small Borough not have one? What does he? Because he's a movement guy.
Potentially,
but he's in the scouring book, so yeah.
I think I've got it. Yeah.
Because I would expect if any hobbit's got it, I'd expect him to have it.
Because I know the main ones do.
Yeah, he does have heroic
He
march.
does, yeah,
There
that's
you go,
all
yeah.
he's got. Okay, so he does have a march in there. So
But
fair.
only 1 point of might.
I was thinking maybe if there was some redundancy that you could add in some speed, particularly for the capture and control, but maybe you've got enough numbers to do that. I actually think this list works for a lot of the scenarios. I think capture and control, you can sit your hobbits on 2 or 3 of the objectives,
Yeah.
while putting shooting pressure on a 4th. At which
Yes.
point you're winning the scenario by doing that. I think hold ground, it struggles if it can't reach the center, but as soon as it reaches the center, hopefully you've got the numbers. But that would be a struggle. Retrieval, again, a bit of a struggle. I think it does well at defending its own objective, but really struggles at pinching its opponents. But then Lords of Battle, I think it can do really well, because in Lords of Battle it can sit off its opponent and really leverage its range threat. And then once they get into combat, they can really make their model count work. So in two out of 4 of those scenarios, I think it could do really, really well. But it just, in those movement ones, we're talking earlier about movement being so important across the board. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah. I think in those movement ones, it's really going to struggle, especially like retrieval, where you've got to go from one corner of the board to the other. Into the West, I played Defenders of the Shire Legendary Legion against my Goblin Town, and it was just painful. It was just like, you just spent most of the game just moving, and we spent like about 10-15 minutes just deploying.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
if I'm Tom on retrieval here, I'm not moving.
You just wait for your opponent. You keep
You're
your
coming to
leader
me.
alive.
Yeah, unless they've got something that's gonna break through that easily. You've got 1,200, like you've got 12 bows and 30 something throw stones. If they come at you, they're gonna get riddled. So
yeah,
like I'd be fairly comfortable. Who's the leader? Is that Halbrad? Is that what he's done?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't have it to hand. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I should have put that on.
The one
that's the
thing
other
you
thing.
weren't prepared for, the only thing you weren't prepared
Because
for.
if I look at this, he's only got 12 in all those warbands. So I'm assuming then Paladin's Fortitude. So has he then gone, Halbrad is going to be my leader, and he adds a much more survivable leader into the list?
Maybe
That could be a little heads up move he's done.
Yeah. You've got the fight 3 strike. Sorry, fight 5 with a strike, who can, be a bit more of a killy survivable hero. Or I think Archie, another member of the London scene, he plays hobbits with Halbrad and some rangers, and he loves Halbrad as his killer.
Yeah,
because he's slightly unexpected. No one expects him to do work, but everyone in his combat is offering that banner to. He's fearless. And
he's mastered that heroic waterfall, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. With rangers by the side of him, so maybe he's there as well, just to be a bit of combat killing power where the hobbits might struggle.
Yeah, because you can just move him across, because the hobbits are not moving anywhere fast, so you can get Halbrad where he needs to be very quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well that's enough about that list, I think.
Yeah, I just love hobbits, man.
Yeah. The next good list we've got, I thought this was super interesting. It includes a model, Kyrian, who we just do not see on the table enough. Maybe that's because he's not very good. Maybe it's because, I don't know, theme. I don't know. But
I think it's just there's so much, like Mordor, there's so much choice.
So much in Ministerial.
In Gondor.
Yeah.
So in this list, we've got in Warband 1, we've got Théoden. He's on armored horse with heavy armor and shield. He's got 3 Rohan Royal Guard on horse with throwing spear, 4 Riders of Rohan with throwing spear. Then Kyrian, the Lieutenant of Armand Barad, with 5 Warriors of Minas Tirith with shields, 1 Warrior of Minas Tirith with shield and spear, 1 Warrior of Minas Tirith with shield, spear, and banner, 4 Rangers of Gondor with spear, and 1 Guard of the Fountain Court. What do you guys think?
I don't get the Guard of Fountain Court.
What, that single?
Yeah, I don't get it.
He had
Um,
11 points left.
What
He
would you
wanted
have done
to
with
get
11
exactly
points? Yeah.
So I'd have spent 2 points changing one of the riders of Rohan into a Royal Guard, but I assume he's got 3 in a pack, so he's only got 3. So that might be why. Because then, 2 points into a rider of Rohan into a Royal Guard, and then you've got 9 points to spend, and that is a Warrior Minister with Shield and Spear.
Yep. Or Ranger with Spear.
Or Ranger Spear, I think. There you go. That's what I would have done. It is 2 points for a rider into a Royal Guard.
I was going to say the max you can take, max Rangers you can take in that warband is 4. So
is there only 1 point?
Yes, because
it's only 1 point. But yeah, anyway, I would use the Guard of Fountain Court's points to upgrade riders into Royal Guard and then chuck in a extra Warrior Minister of Shield and Spear. However, I am assuming he has got 3 Royal Guard models, and that's why he's got 3 Royal Guard.
Yeah, potentially.
Other than that, I really like a Minister of Shield Wall with Rohan. It's a solid army. I also really like Kyrian. So what he is a 3 might striker, I believe.
Yep.
So that's quite nice, and he plays into the good versus evil vibe quite nicely because he has lots of buffs to charging terror enemies.
He does. He gets +2 bonus to his courage value when charging terror, and also
which basically becomes +3.
Sorry,
but it's basically becomes +3 because the army bonus.
Yeah.
So
exactly. And then against Blaze of the Dead. So
yes,
that Angmar's rocking a few Dead Marsh Spectres or
a couple of Speckies,
or whatever. He's great fodder for that.
And at 55 points, he is an absolute steal.
Yeah, 55 points. He's got strike. That's 3 points of might for strike. He's also got resolve.
He does, yes.
You know, when you've got so few heroes and you come up against magic and you don't have the same will to spare, calling a resolve could be huge.
But yeah, no, genuinely, I really like it.
Yeah. With this list, the reason I pulled it out is that I think it's a really clever way to do Hammer and Anvil at 400 points. At 400 points, I don't often think that it's possible because essentially Hammer and Anvil, you're looking for a shield wall that can defend itself, that the opposing army sort of comes at while your heavy hitting force strikes them from the side. And at 400 points, having to split your army into 2, but I don't think either of them are strong enough. But here, you've got a pretty sturdy fight 4 shield wall. Fight 4 because the Rangers will be supporting the Warriors with the shields and the Guard of the Fountain Courts. And then you've got Thed and these Riders of Rohan with their throwing spears being that hammer. And Theoden himself is a really efficient points-wise hero of legend. So if they do break, he's got that automatic pass courage. Plus Theoden's there to give that fight value buff to the Riders of Rohan and the Royal Guard on the charge. So really playing into that hammer in this Hammer and Anvil. So I really, really liked it for that reason. Can you see anywhere where you think this list might struggle, potentially in the scenarios or potentially thinking about what it's likely to be facing?
When I look at it, so it's got a lower than average model count, so there's that.
Yep.
And that's mainly because he's got his cavalry contingent.
Yep.
So Minas Tirith with Kyrian play really nicely into like a horde element that bumps his numbers up to cover for the weakness of the Rohan.
Yep.
And then he's got mobility with the Rohan, which he sorely needs with the Warriors of Minas Tirith. So he's kind of covered both his like little weaknesses there quite nicely. But what we've got is on something like a hold ground, I'd say potentially you might end up struggling to get it. You're not going to be too affected by the Maelstrom rolls because you've got 3 might on each one, and the Rohan force can move to the Ministerial force pretty quickly and kind of regroup if they do get split up. But when you're getting to that center, you're going to struggle to hold it, I think. The Ministerial will be okay, but there's not enough there to give them shield wall consistently. And when you're looking at the Isengard and Hunter Orcs lists, that's like half the evil forces have got strength 4. so they're going to be winning on 5s anyway. So your D6 is pointless. So that's my kind of would be my concern.
And I think you're right to say in whole grounds, obviously it's got the mobility of the Rohan, but if the Gondor can't catch up, they can't defend.
Yeah,
it almost feels like you want to kite it and time the central charge correctly.
Yeah.
So it requires a little bit of finesse there. I don't know who Ryan is.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, I mean, when I see that list, if I was to see it across the table, my first thing is just shoot those riders. Shoot Theoden for a turn or two. Try and make sure that, well, actually, I think with 18-inch bows, you only get one turn, maybe two if you're lucky. But you need to take Theoden off his horse so they don't get the +1 strength. They don't get, all the buffs that he will give. And, that's the only thing that sort of, once they've lost their horses, it is a very squishy list, that half of the list. But yeah, I think it still does what it wants to effectively, and that hammer and anvil will be really effective when you're not deploying in Maelstrom, when you can just say, okay, I'm going to hide my riders behind the shield wall to start with, so you've got loads of in the ways, and then I'm just going to pincer move and come to attack.
There will be some lists on the evil side that will be terrified of this. There will be some lists on the evil side who see this and go, sweet.
Yeah.
I think some of the eisenguards will
like it.
Oh yeah, give me a bit of that. If they've got like a Vrasku and some crossbows or something in there, they're just gonna look at those horses and go, cool. See you later, horses. You are gone. And then, like we say, ping off Snowmane. Bless her, I love her, but Snowmane's got to go.
Theoden is vulnerable to shooting for that reason. He's only got the 1 point of fate to try and save his horse if he chooses to use it to save his horse,
which he does.
Which he often does. Yeah. So I've played Ryan at Warren Reading, absolutely top bloke. I know TO shouldn't have favourites, but I really, really hope he does well with this because I really, really like the list. I think players are going to have to come at it as well. I think you can shoot it, but it can also shoot you. So
it's got 8 bows.
It's got 8. Yeah, it's got 8 bows. So it's inviting you in to that shield wall in which it's
plus those throwing spears are really great.
Exactly.
Just stay 8 inches out. You can throw your spears and they can't charge you.
Yeah.
Move back another couple of inches. Just keep peppering them with throwing spears.
Absolutely. But you guys make valid points that because they've gone for the hammer and anvil at 400 points. It's not the heaviest have hammers and it's not the sturdiest of anvils.
Here's the other. I've been thinking about it. The other thing I would do is turn that Guard of Fountain Court into a Citadel Guard with longbow. You'd have to churn a Ranger of Gondor into something else as well. But maybe he's there for bodyguard, so you've got like a dedicated charging model. But you can then have him like using like a Rohan Outrider and just chuck him somewhere with bodyguard on an objective somewhere.
Yeah, just somewhere where your stand pass doesn't reach. That's a good point.
So he can be holding your base of retrieval just on his own with his longbow.
Definitely.
I love you.
The next list that I've got is another good one. And while we talk about this, we also have the other Army of Lake Town that we can think about. But first of all, we've got Hamish's Army of Lake Town.
The better Army of Lake Town.
Is this Hamish James?
Yes, I think so. You'll have
who I was having a conversation with the other day about Lake Town because we're both trying to get Lake Town captain models.
Potentially, yeah. Both Lake Town players.
We were both chatting about it. Yeah. So right, Lake Town.
So in this army, we've got the Master of Lake Town. He's got 4 Lake Town Guard, 5 Lake Town with spear, 2 Lake Town Guard with bow, and 3 Lake Town Guard with spear and bow. Warband 2 has Alfred, 3 Lake Town Guard, 5 Lake Town Guard with spear, 2 Lake Town Guard with bow, 2 Lake Town Guard with spear and bow. He's got Braga, captain of the guard. He's got 3 Lake Town Guard, 5 Lake Town Guard with spear, 2 Lake Town Guard with bow, 2 Lake Town Guard with spear and bow. And then in his final warband, allied in from Thorin's company, is Nori. Go on.
Okay. So, first things first, Army of Lake Town. amazing. What an inspired choice. Anyone who's taken Army of Lake Town to this tournament is an absolute genius. They're,
Except
they're,
you.
they're one of the best armies in the game, I think, at these low points.
Yeah. Why is that? I mean, here, I mean, maybe it's pretty obvious. He's got 4.
If you don't know, if you don't know why, so the first one was the Lake Town Guards. This is the Army of Lake Town rather than survivors at low points. Lake Town Guard are fight free base, but they're only, I believe, 5 points per 5 points per model as standard. All right, they're fight free base. They're only defense 4. You can't give them a shield, so that's a bit of a kind of concern. However, the Master of Lake Town, while you are in a Green Alliance, has a 12-inch money bags rule where he can spend a point of might at the start of the fight phase, and everything within those 12 inches is now +1 fight. So you've now got a horde of fight 4 models that only cost you 5 points each. It also counts as a 12-inch banner. So what he does is you've got this 50-point Master of Lake Town model, and for 1 point of might, he becomes everyone's dream combination of Borough and Imrihill. He must be
played by Stephen Fry, so what more could you want?
Exactly, you get to play with Stephen Fry. So you look at this one, and he's got, what did we say, it was 42 models. So he's got 38 fight 4 warriors in here. Yeah. Eat your heart out, Isengard. What you can do is then pack that with bows as well, which he has done, and just get a really high bow count. They're hitting on 4s, which is nice. It's not amazing. Strength 2 bows, which is, but there's just so many of them.
Yeah.
You've then got Alfred. For anyone who doesn't know, Alfred has 3 points of will. At the start of a turn, you can use one of your will to give a might to one of the Lake Town heroes. It's more of it's a Lake Town hero, not just any rando hero. That's on a roll of a 2+. On a 1+, he steals one from them. So what you can do is give 3 more points of might to the Master. So now he's got 5 points of might. So you've got 5 turns of being in a 12-inch thing. It can backfire. He can steal a might from the Master. I have had it happen where I've used 3 of his will to give points to the Master, and I've taken 2 away and gained 1. So I've ended up taking 1 of might. He's now down to 1 might, basically, and it kind of ruins the whole fight 4 party that I have going on, which is a shame. You've then got Braga.
Fingers crossed that happens lots for you this weekend.
Braga is just a fight 4 captain standard. He has 3 points of might, and he has march. I believe, does he also have defense, Braga?
He does
also have defense. Yeah, naughty little boy. He's got 3 points of might, march, and defense. If he is within 6 inches of the Master, he uses a point of might to call a heroic action. On a 4-up, that point of might is free. So he's got 3 points of might. He's going to be within 6 inches of the Master. On average, he's actually got 4.5 points of might.
Yep.
But that can spike. And anyone who's played Lake Town has seen it spike. And if you look at this list, on paper, it's got 8 points of might. You add in 3 from Alfred, it's got 11 points of might. You added a bonus 1.5, it's got 12.5 points of might. And that can go up from Braga spiking. So this lad's running around with like 12, 13 points of might to play with. Some of that is obviously going to get used on the Master's kind of big buff bubble. But, honestly, I just love Lake Town, man. There's just...
What do you think the significance of having Nori is in there? Because he's got the highest model count. He's still got 4 heroes in there and a hero without a warband. Well, without models in his warband. What does Nori add?
So the one thing it doesn't have, if you ignore Nori for a second and just look at the standard list here that he's got. So if I was to make an Army of Lake Town list and put it on paper, the first 3 things I'd add to it is Master, Alfred, and Braga.
Yeah.
And then what you look at is you go, right, fill it up with heroes, with warriors to make most of that Master's thing. But all you've got is a whole bunch of fight 4 models. You've got Braga, who goes up to fight 5 when the Master's thing is active. So that's nice. But you have no strike. You have no way of dealing with a big hero. if you let a big hero get into you, you're in trouble. So what you need is someone to go and stand up alerts, or a thimble, or someone who can come in and just rip through you. So I think that's what Nori's here for. He's fairly cheap at 55 points.
Yep.
And you can chuck him in. He deals out a fair bit of damage. He's strength 4, but with +1 to wound.
He's strength 4, yeah. He's got a two-handed mace, and he's got the weapon master, so he ignores the -1. So
Yeah.
he essentially burly.
Yeah, strength 4, +1 to wound. So 2 points of might.
2 points of might, yep. So he's
And
not
strike.
a 3-point of might hero, but yeah, he's got heroic strike.
Cool. Fight 5.
Fight 5, yeah.
Yeah, sweet. So yeah, he's just a little like he's your kind of anti-hero a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
If you see alerts or someone on the table opposite you, he's going to run in and bonk him on the head.
Yeah.
He also
even if he takes a couple of points of might off of alerts through striking off each other.
Yeah. And at 55 points, he does that cheaper and more efficiently than someone like Bard will.
Fair.
So there's that.
So that's what you think of this list.
Yes.
If you were to compare it to the other Lake Town list, so this is actually your list, isn't it?
This one's
It is.
terrible. Hate it.
It is,
Whoever
yeah.
is an absolute moron.
So what does your list do that the other one doesn't?
So I had a choice to make. One of my choices is literally what models I have, but the other choice is a tactical one. So like we said, we had.
Do you want to just talk through what the differences are?
Oh yeah, sure. So I've got, well, the biggest difference is that I have got Bard on horse with armor,
right,
in my list. So I've then got Bard and 10 warriors, 5 with bow, 5 with spear. I've got a master with 10 warriors, 5 with nothing, 5 with spear and bow. And I've got Alfred with 5 warriors and 5 with spear. So I've got Bard, Master, Alfred, and 30 warriors, 10 of which have bows, and 15 of which have spears. Also, because I really like symmetry when I write my list. It just really pleases me. Something about his game was really stressing me out. He had like slightly more spears in each warband than he had swords, and it was like stressed me right out. But yeah, I like it to be nice and even and pretty, so that's why I've done that.
Is that why you keep inviting me and Curtis back, because we're so pretty?
So the
That's
difference
exactly right.
is he's got Nori and Braga and maybe a few extra warriors, and you've brought Bard. And Bard is like what, 140 point hero, 3 points of might.
Yeah, so Bard is very expensive for what he does. But what he does is something very similar to what Braga and Nori have done. The Nori choice is inspired. I really like that.
Yeah.
That's really pleased me. Because for me, it was a toss-up between Bard and Braga, and which one I picked. And then I had if I picked Braga, I also got a bunch more dudes. What the choice was there was Braga's marching capabilities and the might for moves and things like that, or Bard on a horse, so he can move around, but the army can't move around as well. But he also has, if you don't know, a rapid fire strength 4 bow. So he can fire that up to 3 times. If he lands a first hit, he can throw it again. If he lands a second hit, you can throw it again. If you land a third hit, you can throw it again. Well, no, you get 3 hits. So that's a strength 4. Hitting on 3s. Which, thinking about the fact that I was playing good versus evil, if they like to hoard out, say Moria, Goblin Town, Hunters, they're only defense 4. I'm sat there with Bard going, I can drop 2 or 3 guys a turn with Bard shooting. And I've then got my 10 bows that can also do a fair bit of damage themselves. Plus, once we get into combat, to be honest, Alfred's probably going to need most of his might to Bard throughout the event.
Yep.
Bard is then going to be running around with 5-6 points of might, and calling kind of heroic combats through the troops. Probably not going to be charging him into heroes, because the heroes are mean, basically. And I don't want to risk losing him. So if, for instance, we compare it to Eisenguard, what are we doing is chucking Bard on his horse into a couple of Uruks, probably calling a heroic combat of 2 Uruks, because I think Bard at strength 4 there on a horse can drop 2 Uruks quite comfortably, move on, get another 1 or 2, and potentially start whittling them down while my warriors just survive. That was my thinking. I didn't go with Braga purely because I felt like I needed a hitter.
Yep.
This is the only consideration I made whilst looking at the scenarios, was that for Lords, I wanted Bard.
Yeah.
Because that gives me my big play of Bard is going to go and drop, and Bard's going to rack up my points.
Yeah.
While the rest of my warriors try not to die.
I think you still managed to get 33 models, which is like the 3rd or 4th highest model count in the whole tournament. So
yeah,
and you've got that Bard who has the potential of having 6 points of might. You know, in Lords of Battle, you might prefer to have Bard with 6 points of might than Master of Lake Town with 5 points of might.
If there's any heroes on the table without strike on Lords of Battle, Bard is hunting them down.
Yeah, exactly.
Dumping might into them, because Bard is 6 points of might, dumping might into killing a hero, getting might back again.
Yep, through the Lords of Battle special rule.
Through Lords of Battle special rule. So
Yeah.
that's why Bard's here. Also, I don't have enough Lake Town warriors to bring more than this many.
Absolutely.
So there's that. But
it'll be really interesting to see how the two compare. Obviously, they'll never face each other. But
I think so. The one scenario, for instance, if you want to talk about that quickly, but that will make the biggest difference, I think, is retrieval. I think that's where you'll see the biggest difference, because if I have Braga on retrieval, I think I am marching my 40 models straight down the table.
Yeah, and they can't stop all 40, can they?
You can't stop it all. Whereas with Bard, I don't have a march in here. So I can't do that. I've only got Bard as my maneuverable option, so I'm a little bit more static. So that comes into there a little bit. It's a bit of a not so sure how I feel about it. But there are ways to work around that.
Yeah,
with someone like a Bard and lots of might on him. So yeah,
interesting.
Zahir.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's all right. I'm busy.
What one do you fear most as an evil player?
Honestly,
just quickly, sorry, because I think
they're both
talked a lot.
Great lists. You know, I think that you've got the numbers, which I think in the UK is just what is key. If you've got numbers, people always have it, and people are always going to win. I think I like your list a bit more personally because you've got the heavy hitter, and like you said, I'm scared of Bard on horse. And he's got his bow as well. And like you said, you're taking out 3 models a turn. You're just maximizing your numbers even more. Because if you really want to, you can use that point of might, and then you can just go, Alfred, give him more, and you're not really worried about might. And yeah, I think it's a great list. I think they're both great, and we'll see which one's better. Because I think Nori's a great shout. He's 50 points. You're not really worried if he does die because you've only spent 50 points. But he's got stride. He's got 2 points of might. He's 200 burly basically. He'll be able to go around wrecking things as well. I think if you use your heroes correctly, you could go straight to the top.
Brilliant. Well, should we have a little highlight of what these lists might be up against?
Yes, and we should try and talk less about them, just because I've realised that we've talked so much. Sorry.
When it comes to talking about my list, we won't talk about it at all. Actually, that's cool, because then
sorry, give away players.
Sorry, evil players, but okay. So our first list that we've got to talk about is Sam's Angmar. Sam's Angmar. He's got the Witch King of Angmar on horse with the crown of Morgul, 2 points of might, 3 points of fate, no additional will. He's got 7 Angmar orcs with shield, 3 Angmar orcs with spear, 2 Angmar orcs with 2-handed weapons, 2 Angmar warg riders with shields, and 2 Angmar orc warriors with bow and spear. In his second warband, he's got Burda, the troll chieftain, and in his third warband, he's got the Barrowite. he's got 3 warbands, but only one of them's got warriors in it. He's really brought his toys at 400 points. What do you think?
I love it. I think it's just so much fun. It's just, you know me, I love my heavy hitters. I think it's a ridiculous list. Like, I don't think it's necessarily optimized for these scenarios, but it's brilliant. Like, I think it's just like, you've got so much shutting down power, and the good guys have only got like 1 heavy hitter. So, you paralyze them 1 turn, then you use transfix with the Witch King, and eventually they're just going to be out of will, can't resist anything. You've shut them down, send Borough in, smash them in the face.
I wonder if for that reason if it's optimized for Lords of Battle. So
yeah,
we were talking earlier about optimizing it for the first 3 and then taking your opponent on in Lords of Battle who's optimized theirs in the same way. This is almost the opposite. It's seeing what happens in those first 3 and then really driving that point home in Lords of Battle, not giving up too many wounds because it's not got too many models, but just letting Borough wreck face.
Yeah. The other interesting point. So I'd look at this and go, it's very slow, and it hates something like a Maelstrom where it could potentially get spread out. But then you look at the other missions, and you've got 2 missions where you're deploying on top of each other. So retrieval and command of capture and control are pretty much on top of each other deployments.
And Lords of Battle as well as a 24-incher.
Is it?
Yep.
I thought it's to
the death is 12 inches.
Spread. Yeah.
But Lords of Battle, of course, if you're a shooting army, you've got the option to sit back.
Yes, but you're still kind of looking at going, like Borough hasn't got far to go to get himself into there.
Yep.
Yeah, Maelstrom would scare me, but Maelstrom scares Angmar whatever you do because it's such a low might. I think this has got as much might as my like 700 point Angmar lists have.
It's got 2 on the Witch King and 3 on Borough. So 5 points might.
So is that Witch King 2-10-3?
2-10-3, yep.
Yeah, cool. But he's got the crown, so that 10's fine. That's basically 20. Yeah. Cool.
Sure. So probably not too much else to say. It might get shot to death, but at the same time, if it can stay together, it can be a little death ball. And because there's not loads of models, they're really benefiting from being near the Witch King, the Barrowite, for being terrifying, which with the Witch King's Harbinger could come in pretty clutch because, like we've already seen, well, the Hobbit army obviously won't struggle against terror with its fearless banner, but maybe the others at 400 points haven't brought enough anti-terror.
Yeah, and I think that actually, like, not giving. I mean, there's always that danger of putting too much or too many resources on the Witch King, like adding too much extra will or something, and actually the games are not going to be that long. And if you're playing against, a reasonable sized army, which most people are taking a quite big army, you're not going to get loads of turns in. So you don't need to, you don't want to finish the games with 12 or 10 points of will left on the Witch King.
He probably can't afford to, right? Because he needs models if he wants his Barrowite and Borough.
What he's doing here is he's sitting the Witch King behind the lines. Borough's going up at the front, and the Witch King sitting behind is going, that hero who's scary to Borough, he's not doing anything, thanks. Say Hamish's army, he's going, Nori, you're transfixed now.
Yeah.
Borough, go play. Or transfixing the master so he can't use his money bags. I mean, if it's me, I'm looking at it and going, there's 9 D5 models and 7 D4 models.
Yeah.
I reckon I can break this before it gets to me, except for the fact that we're right on top of each other anyway. So
I think it worries at Maelstrom because that Barrowite could become hugely isolated with 0 might to change its role, and then could almost become irrelevant in the game, which is the Borough sort of needs, at least benefits from having the Barrowite to babysit it.
But that's one scenario,
Yeah, absolutely.
But interesting, he's also evil, so he can't use that +1 for his own stuff.
Can't use it for his own stuff.
So
only affect theirs. So that might also play into it. So that's Sam's Angmar. Next we've got Zahir's Azog's Hunters. And so here, it seems as though it's your list. Do you want to talk us through it?
Yeah. So I've got in Warband 1 and with my leader, I've got Thimble, or Thimble, as it seems to be written there. Thimble. The Hunter on Felwarg. So he's my leader. He's a 5/5 striker. And if you've watched any of Tom's previous videos, which will be down below, he has in the top 5 evil heroes. He was quite high up on some people's lists, which was quite good. I've got 2 Hunter Orcs on Felwarg, 2 Felwargs, 2 Hunter Orcs, and 6 Hunter Orcs with bow. Then I've got Narzug, 5 Hunter Orcs, 3 Hunter Orcs with bow, and then my third warband is a Goblin Mercenary Captain with 11 Goblin Mercenaries. So that's it.
Are you scared, Tom?
I'm bloody terrified. Yeah, so Zahir, do you want to tell us what your pros are, and I'll tell you what your cons are potentially?
I don't know. I'm not very good at talking good about myself. You go ahead.
Okay, I'll tell you what's good about it, and you tell me what's rubbish about it.
D4 defense, defense for most of my army. Well, no, everything in my army except for my 2 Hunter Orc heroes. Don't know what else. I'm not good at talking.
Basically, the entire army is incredibly squishy. Yeah. But what you have got is, what does it work out as, like 20 something Hunter Orcs who are 2 attack strength 4 models. They're only fight 3, but 2 attack strength 4 models. You've got 9 warriors with bow. You've got Fimbal, who also has a bow. You've got Narzug, who's got a multi-shot bow with +1.
Multiple shots as well. Has he got multiple shots?
I believe Narzug.
He has. I think he only gets a 3-point of might a turn.
Does he not have expert shot?
I don't know.
Tell you, Narzug has expert rider.
Expert rider.
Yeah, I didn't think he had an extra shot.
He's got lethal aim, which gives him
lethal aim
point of might to use.
I thought he had expert shot for some reason. I was just thinking, has he got multi shots?
Because he's got Morgul arrows, which is quite juicy.
Okay, but it's just him who has Morgul arrows, right?
Yeah, because
that bulk.
That's Sunday.
Nice, yeah. So it's just a bajillion. That's what 9, 10 shots hitting on 4s and 1 shot hitting on 3s. Yeah, because with your army bonus, you get +1 to shoot. So orcs hit on 4s. So other than the range difference, we've got the same level of shooting. So that's going to be quite spicy. Shooting into the same defense. It's going to be quite fun. Then you've got a little bit extra
I'm hoping
speed.
to just miss you again because I've never played you.
Narzug's on foot, right, in this one?
Yes, yeah.
Is that because the model doesn't exist, or is that a tactical choice?
Tactical choice.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I just wanted him back.
Yeah. Is he your leader as well?
Narzug?
Yeah.
No, didn't bother.
Okay.
I don't know why, but he is.
Yeah. I was going to say I've done that before, and where I've done like Narzug as the leader, so he sits back and then shoots in. Thimble can just go and. Because should we just talk about how good Thimble is for a second?
Yes, go on.
He is fight 5 with heroic strike. Done. There you go.
Yeah.
He's 3 attacks.
Yep. Well, on the charge.
On the charge. Yeah, 3 attacks on his little waggy boy. He can ignore difficult terrain. The penalty for moving and charging through difficult terrain. That, as well as his little fight 5 strikiness, there's nowhere to hide. Because if he doesn't have that, you can look at that and go, cool, right, well, your Hunter Orcs on wilds and stuff, I'm going to hide in the bushes and I'm going to shoot at them and hope for the best. But Fimble's just going to come in and get you.
And he doesn't need to see you to charge on his warg.
No,
exactly. He's got fair sight on the wargs.
The good thing about like something that you just sort of your opponent, you remind your opponent at the beginning of the game, but then they forget it in game. Is that they're just like, where did that come from? You were hiding behind a building 2 seconds ago. I've got pale sight. I can move 10 inches, and it can be really useful.
And then the mercenaries for retrieval.
Just popping up in general, to be honest with you, just to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got my jazz hands Goblin Merc Captain, that we've been showing off in the chat.
You've got, and for hold ground as well, I'll be going around. If I'm playing on hold ground, I will go around and just measure, make sure there's no terrain within 6 inches of the middle. Just squeeze that out.
Oh,
no,
is it? Well,
for here, I
we
do
want to
believe
that, yeah.
this list is a golden crunch cream.
Those of you who
Cream
haven't seen,
biscuit on the market.
Zahir and I, when we were on this, we love, on this podcast, we love comparing lists to biscuits. And I have to agree with Tom. I think this is a golden crunch cream. You know, this is a Witch King short of a hobnob to me. Chocolate hobnob.
Oh, that just warmed my heart. But now I'm going to do really badly at the tournament. You know that.
I think you've got mobility here. You've got numbers. You've got tactical advantage with the Goblin Mercs. You've got a really decent amount of might with 2 3-point heroes, and the Goblin Merc Captain bringing you up to 8. That's the most amount of might. It's the most amount of base might at the event. Obviously, there's a few mighty heroes popping around. There's Alfred, and Herald and stuff. But it seems to have everything. It's one weakness, defense 4. You said it yourself.
Definitely.
It's quite squishy. If they can survive and kill you in the hour and 25 minutes they've got to do it, they might just be able to get the objective and prevent you from doing it. But if you can put out the damage on them, then they just might not have enough models to.
And I think the thing is like, if they roll badly when they've got, like, if you're outnumbered 2 to 1, it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen more often than not. When 2 models charge you in and you've got a Hunter Orc and you just kill both of them in one combat, it just makes everything so much better.
Absolutely.
You just go 1 strike on each, and then somehow you roll them well, and you just get just beautiful. 2
dice. Most of the time, you're needing 5s to wound against D6 or below. So yeah.
4s on me.
4s on Lake Town. Yeah. Your Hunter Orcs will feel like mini captains as they tear through swathes of Lake Town. So yeah.
I think, and I totally meant, looked at all the scenarios and said, oh yeah, there's loads that we just deploy straight on half, and I totally planned that. So I just had defense 4 will be fine. Totally thought about that before. I didn't just luck that out.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys were talking about that. I was like, oh, okay, this is actually working out quite well in my favor. I was like, okay.
No pressure come Saturday though. No pressure.
This is one of my top picks out of these lists.
Yeah. Brilliant. So,
but you forgot who's piloting it.
Yes, a top 30 GBHL player from last season.
Very true. Very true. Lastly, before we finish off the session, I thought with 4 Isengard lists on the evil side, it'd be silly not to at least talk about them. We've already talked about them in some length, but what we've got here before we end is a direct comparison between Archie's Lurtz's Scouts and Luke's Isengard.
Is this my boy Luke Jebb?
It is indeed. Yeah.
Oh, my boy.
So in Archie's Lurtz's Scouts, we've got Lurtz, 8 Uruk-hai Scouts with shield, 4 Uruk-hai Scouts with Uruk bow, and 1 Uruk-hai Scout with nothing. And then in Warband 2, we've got Malher, a Uruk-hai drum, 7 Uruk-hai Scouts with shields, and 4 Uruk-hai Scouts with Uruk-hai bow. And then in Luke's army, he's also gone with Lurtz, but he's gone with 5 Uruk-hai warriors with shield, 5 Uruk-hai warriors with pike, 2 berserkers. And in his second warband, he's gone with Vrashku with 5 Uruk-hai warriors with crossbow, 3 Uruk-hai warriors with shield, and 2 2 berserkers again. The reason I picked these 2 out to compare, because I felt looking at the 4 lists that were there, one of them was very, very similar to Luke's, and the other one was slightly different. But I felt like this was, people had Isengard in their mind. I felt like these were the 2 ways you could do Isengard at 400 points. You go for your fast-moving scouts with Lurtz, or you go with defense 6, fight 4, strength 4 warriors that we talked about earlier, with Vrashku and a load of crossbows just being strength 4 shooting. In your guys' opinion, which is the best way to do Isengard?
All I can say is my boys, because I'm so happy with both of these lists.
Pleased with both of them?
Because I think that they're going to do good for the team. That's all that matters.
Yeah, it is for the side.
I think they're both great. I mean, like, I played against Archie's Lurtz Scouts on last week, and it's just that movement. You can just, if you call it heroic combat with one of your heroes, you've got so much range. You just think, oh no, they won't be able to get anything, and then you're like, oh no, they move 8 inches, so they just go into something like miles away that you were trying to protect, and it's just like it makes you think completely differently. And then the other list is just awesome. Isengard, you've got your crossbows, you've got your berserkers. It's just great. And then you've got Vashu, who's got 2 shots and 5 extra crossbows. They're going to just be rinsing things, which is great for us.
Yep. And do you agree with that, Tom?
Yes.
Ooh.
I'm nervous.
Oh, right. That was a nervous yes. I thought that was an unconvinced yes.
No. This is how, it's the same. So Archie's list is exactly how I would do Let's Scouts. It is mildly scary. I'm not sure if the drum's overkill at 400.
Yep,
just a thing, but then you only get, what is it, 4 extra? You get 4 extra hurts without it.
3.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the warband space for them, does he?
Talking to Archie before the event, he was like banner or drummer. If you had that choice at 400 points, which way would you
Drummer.
go? And this is highly controversial, I would take the banner, and it's not the kind of thing I would say normally.
Because you know how much you hate banners.
I don't hate them. It's just, effort in there. The reason I would take the banner is because you don't have access to spears. And you need Lurtz and Malheur to perform. So I would personally, take the banner. The again, if you look at the scenarios, it's the other thing to consider. I don't know how often you'll actually need to move 14 inches. The only one you'd want to is.
Go on, sorry, mate.
The only one you need that for is retrieval. You can use it to reposition yourself and things like that.
That's
quite happily, but I don't know how much you'll ever be in a position where you need to fully move around that much, because you'll be just on them and tearing them down. The Scout Legions are so good because in general, because you've got a load of strength 4 models. But if I look at Isengard, I think, it's going to slowly shuffle towards me. It's fine. But the Scouts just sprint straight at you. What I need is someone from Rivendell to come and do me a favor and just hit them with some strength 3 bows for those Scouts, because otherwise I'm a scared idiot.
And of course, Archie is just a great player as well. So you just use them
exactly. We love Archie. The standard Isengard list is less, I think. It doesn't feel as optimized, I think is probably the word.
I don't think it's as offensive. So I think what we see here, the Scout Legions are very movement focused, very offensive. Whereas with the crossbows, because they're not moving, but they're huge and potent, and they can really, they could break an opponent.
I would rather play Luke than Archie. Lists. Yeah. So I think I could handle 6-inch move alerts rather than 8-inch move alerts. Much easier. Especially 11-inch move alerts or 14-inch move alerts. It feels like if you look at how big his front line is going to be, so he's got 5 Uruks of shield in one warband, 5 Pikes there, and you've got 3 Uruks of shield in the other one. So you've got 8 Uruks of shields, then a couple of berserkers. So you're getting to maybe 10, 11 wide by the time you actually get into combat. And then just 5 pikes to put where you need them. I'm not sure how I need to see it on a table to see how it looks.
Yeah.
I'm also not in love with berserkers at the moment, just in general.
Too expensive for being 2 attacks?
I think my problem with berserkers is that they don't do what berserkers should do. What they're really, really good for is camping on objectives.
Courage 7.
That's what I would use a berserker for, and it shouldn't be what I use a berserker for. But that's just kind of my thoughts. I mean, you can see here clearly you get 2 berserkers or 3 Uruks. I feel like I'd personally probably rather have another 3 Uruks. I know you get 4 attacks for 2 berserkers rather than 3 attacks from 3 Uruks. But it's just that extra getting them into fights and things. You're having to chuck the berserkers into multiple models and hoping for the best. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it personally. But it's Rasku that's the multi-shot bad boy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's the problem with this. It's got what 7 strength 4 shots.
Strength 4, yeah.
It's gonna really hurt.
The other lads are hitting on 4s. So you might have elves, but elves might be wanting to move because they don't have that many models, so they want to be pushing objectives and stuff. So they're moving 3 inches, so they're also hitting on 4s. Crossbows don't have a choice. They either move 6, great, or they don't move, but don't have any negative shoot. Also great.
Yeah. But like, to use the scenario things again, on retrieval, I feel like Luke's list is sitting back and holding his, whereas I feel like Archie's is definitely just sending it. And then
it's funny, we played that scenario. I mean, we both were playing evil, so it probably wouldn't happen. But yeah, it was just he managed to just redeploy straight away when I put my mercs on. Well, I failed my courage test. I had to put my mercenaries on. Stupidly didn't use any might or will to change it. So I had to draw him back, and he just was there. Like one turn, he was there, and it was scary because he was halfway across the board already.
Mm-hmm.
And then I popped on, and he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna march and drum," and he was there. He was on me already, and it was it was scary.
Scary. That's terrifying. Because sometimes I look at it and go, "Oh, it's cool. I'll sit back and shoot at it." And then you go, "Actually, that's the opposite of what I want to do with it." You always have to stand it up and just go, "Come on, then. I'll meet you in the middle."
Meet it in the middle, because if it meets you high up the board, it's similar to, I don't know if any of you have read Ali King's latest blog about his success at the Grandest tournament, and he talks about the benefit, like how he plays his orcs with the drummer. Particularly in objective scenarios, he's really wanting to meet his opponent as high up the battlefield as possible, so that any models he's got spare at the back can sit on those objectives, and his opponent has to break through him. And
I do the exact same thing with my Goblin Town. You'll often, like on a lot of objective missions, you'll often hear the first things out of my mouth are, "Right, cool, I'm going to march," and just shoof up the board, and then you've got to get through 60 goblins to get to the objectives. Enjoy.
I feel like most evil armies, you want to just be pushing. You want to be meeting them in their half of the board and just going, "Okay, well, you need to get through whatever I've got, whether it's a horde, whether it's high fight, high strength models or whatever, because we will chop through you, and then we can push through rather than sitting back. You're going to die."
And let's be honest, that's the evil way. That's how it should be.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly how it should be. So, there are highlights. There are lists. That's our tournament summary. You guys looking forward to it?
Definitely.
I'm buzzing. This should be good.
Yeah. So
it's going to be really interesting.
The whole weekend.
Like, I'm looking at some of them and going, for me personally, there's like lists that I'm scared of in some scenarios, but on some I'm like, I can take it, So
Good.
It's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Excellent.
And it's going to be good to hang out with you guys again.
Of course. Well, I'm buzzing to host another one. I've only ever hosted one tournament before this, and that was in December, and that was so much fun. So and it's at the same
your
venue.
First GBHL one. How are you feeling?
GBHL one for me as well. So
your first GBHL one with your GBHL boss leaning over you.
Yeah, please.
How are you feeling about it, or are you looking forward to it?
Well, I'm absolutely buzzing. Forgive me if anything goes wrong, but hopefully it should be pretty smooth.
Yes, but your mates will never forgive you for anything.
I got loads and loads of help coming down. We've got James, who won the LWG championships. He's coming down as the ringer.
All right, rub it in.
We've also
he's better than you, is he here?
Yeah,
my sister's also coming down to help as well, and she'll be familiar to a few people who also came down to that event. So she'll be helping me out with the scores and stuff. So it should be a good laugh. There's a bar there. We've got 4 games of MESBG, and then quite a lot of you if you don't get your way on Saturday, you'll be able to go to the main Battle of Borough event and hopefully do much better there on the Sunday.
Yeah, I love how that turned out. That you put this extra one on for the Saturday, and then it turned out that actually no one could go to the Saturday, so it just filled up with all the people going to both.
Filled up, yeah. We thought we did it for the reserve list, and the reserve list sort of filled up. We half our spots with people that missed out on tickets for Borough, and the rest ended up getting filled with people who already had tickets for Borough, making a weekend of it, which is brilliant. It's great for them to be able to get more games in that weekend. They get a proper visit to London, see what it's all about. Huge following from the LWG getting tickets to these events as well, which is brilliant with them. And it's nice to get some GBHL events in the capital. So we're really pleased. And if it's successful, fingers crossed for more bigger events later in the future.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for special guest hosting, Curtis, and giving us a little insight into the London life. I wouldn't just remember you're sharing screen still, so don't take us anywhere on your laptop. Didn't know where you were going there.
Probably embarrassingly take you to my Games Workshop basket, which has probably got hundreds of pounds.
I think we've all got that, haven't we, at the moment?
I don't know why anyone would take you to the Games Workshop basket, because obviously you would take you to your Atomic Cards basket, where you can pick up any of your models.
It's called our wish list.
Your models, terrain, anything else you could possibly want. Head over to our website, atomiccards.co.uk. And if you've enjoyed this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you ever see Lee, ring that bell. Brilliant. And we'll see you in London if you come in. If not, I'll see you guys next time.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.